to payroll and secure more resources for the nation's coffers. Cameroon and Africa mark civil registration on Vital Statistics Day with focus on raising public awareness of the importance of making every citizen visible in the country and on the continent through birth registration and certification. Those are our lead stories. Hello and thanks for joining us. I am Ben Menopufong and this is the 7:30 News.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
Good evening once again. There has been a vast movement within the core of the magistracy in Cameroon following yesterday's meeting of the Higher Judicial Council that was sanctioned by a number of decrees appointing, upgrading, transferring magistrates and integrating greenhounds into the core. A novelty this year was the deployment for the very first time of graduates of the new common law section of the School of Administration and Magistracy in NAM, trained to serve exclusively in the Northwest and Southwest regions. Quinta Rita Edang reports that no disciplinary files were received by the council, even if it nonetheless came out with far-reaching decisions affecting the core of the magistracy in the country.
The August 10th presidential decree appointing and promoting magistrates and judicial officers across the national spectrum witnessed some remarkable changes, notably the appointment of new heads of the different chambers of the Supreme Court, with Joseph Fongang Fokwe as head of the judicial bench, Yap Abdou, president of the audit bench, while Daniel Eteki Ndumbe was confirmed as president of the administrative bench. Another groundbreaking decision taken by the head of state is the appointment of super-skilled magistrate Annie Noel Bahoni Batende as the first female president of the Special Criminal Court, the legal structure that handled cases of embezzlement of at least 50 million CFA francs. This portrays the president's recognition of the contribution of women to enhance the rule of law in Cameroon, as many other women have been appointed to head different jurisdictions within the country, coming after the major national dialogue during which the training of common law magistrates was re-echoed, the absorption into the core and the appointment of a good number of Anglophone magistrates to serve in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon will facilitate judicial procedures. The magistrates, who have a better mastery of the English legal system, were trained in the recently created Common Law Department of the National School of Administration and Magistracy.
And let's now hop a while on the who is who on yesterday's presidential decrees. Annie Noel Bahoni Batende has thus become the first lady to head the Special Criminal Court since its creation in 2012. And as you heard in that report with Quinta Rita Edang, she was appointed by yesterday's presidential decree at the behest of the Higher Judicial Council that President Paul Biya presided over. Ebenezer Akanga, in the following portrait, captures in this portrait, Madame Batende engraved her name in the annals of the judicial history in Cameroon when she triggered and obtained the arrest and detention of a sitting government cabinet minister.
This is the first woman to head the Special Criminal Court since it was created in 2011. 58-year Annie Noel Bahoni Batende. Before her appointment, she was vice president of the same court. After obtaining her baccalaureate in Lycée Leclerc, Annie Noel Bahoni Batende read law in the University of Paris-Malakoff in France. Upon return to the country, she entered into the National School of Administration and Magistracy, NAM, in Yaoundé, from where she graduated as a magistrate in 1990. She has occupied several positions in the magistracy, notably Assistant State Counsel in Kongsamba, President of the Court of First Instance in Douala, Bonanjo, President of the Court of First Instance and High Court, Mbamayu, Vice President of the Court of Appeal of the South Region, and Vice President of the Special Criminal Court, a post she occupied till her appointment as President of the Court. Aninwel Bahonwi Batendi hails from Diknimiki in the Center Region. She takes over from Emmanuel Njeri, who served as President of the Court for about 3 years.
Still, by virtue of yesterday's presidential decrees, Daniel Ndombe Teke was elevated to the helm of the administrative bench of the Supreme Court. Yab Abdul became president of the audit bench of the Supreme Court, while Fonkwe Joseph Fongang climbed at the top of the judicial bench of the court. The first two of the three appointees, as Joyce Kimbi Forward now tells us, are taking over from predecessors who had since slept in the Lord.
This man has been given the responsibility of helming the administrative bench of the Supreme Court. Daniel Ndumbe Eteki, 63 years old, owns a rich career profile that started up in Kongsamba in 1984. He has sojourned as presiding judge of high courts in Nanga Eboku, Marwa, Ebolova, Douala, then vice president and later back as president to the Garwa Court of Appeal and to same position in Bafoussam in the West before his appointment in 2017 as advisor to the Supreme Court and president in charge of public service litigations. He was the interim president of the judicial bench before his confirmation last night.
Just will work more than yesterday.
He is also a no-nonsense legal mind that has been given the privilege to man the judicial bench of the Supreme Court. Fonkwe Joseph Fongang, 64 years old, native of Lobialem in the Southwest region. He's been presiding judge, state counsel, president of high courts, vice president of appeal courts in the Southwest, Far North, Littoral and West regions, amongst others. He was also an advisor at the Supreme Court before being appointed in 2017 as Secretary General in the Ministry of Justice up till July 2020. But since last night, Fonkwe Joseph Fongang will be championing all decisions at the judicial bench of the Supreme Court. Yab Abdul is remembered by most Cameroonians as the first ever president of the Criminal Tribunal created in 2017. He is now the president of the audit bench of the Supreme Court. Born in 1956, he hails from Fumban in the West region and boasts of a long judicial career that moved through all its legal branches. He graduated from ENAM in 1985 and has worked at the Secretariat of the Presidency.
The Judicial Council resolutions of yesterday have not only resolved the vexing problem of insufficient common law professionals, but it has breached the generational gap between the young and old practicing magistrates through transfers and merited retirement. Kilian Datndifon now reads meaning into yesterday's presidential acts.
The resolutions of the Higher Judicial Council has first and foremost solved the problem of the vacuum in the common law practice in Cameroon. The resulting transfers have also solved a problem of redundancy and sometimes absolute power.
Overdoing in a particular station makes some of them create a monarchy around them. But when you master everything, you create a lot of monarchy, authority around you, and you think that you can go a long way to do many other things out of the oath which you took to render justice for, in the name of the people, God and your conscience.
In another perspective, it has helped the generational transition.
Those who have been there for long in a particular place, they are supposed to go on retirement. New legal texts are out, decrees are out, international laws are out. They don't bother any further. You go to their tables, their offices, the files are jammed as if you are in a dungeon, which is not supposed to be the case. So my opinion is that The highest thing is you do 2 years at most, and you are moved to another place.
The wish of some magistrates is that the Higher Judicial Council should meet every year to encourage dynamism and avoid frustrations in the core.
And now on to this presidential decree, which reads, Mr. Mokhtar Usman May has been appointed by presidential decree as the chair of the board of directors of the National School of Local Administrations for a period of 3 years, renewable once. The new board chair, appointed by the President of the Republic, shall have rights to advantages of all kinds provided for by the internal rules and regulations in force. And that decree has been signed Paul Biya, President of the Republic of Cameroon. Let's talk other issues now on the news. Efforts to clear up the state's payroll are now paying off, as reports are talking of over 10,000 ghost workers who have been uncovered by the exercise, which kicked off some 2 years ago under the mandate of the Ministry of Finance. The process is far from ending, as Iwane Epoli reports, and he says it is just the first in 1,000 steps that are still to follow.
The headcount of state employees, known by its French acronym ASCOPE, was launched in 2008. It was instructed by President Paul Biya in a bid to clean state payroll of fictitious salary earners. According to statistics from the Ministry of Finance, the mass salary situation witnessed a rapid increase from 393 billion CFA francs in 2006 to 945 billion CFA francs in 2017. More than 10,000 ghost workers have been uncovered so far, and this cost the government over 35 billion CFA francs per year.
Our own public workers that we have, they are still very young, which means we believe that in the future, those ones will not have that impact will not be felt on them, because they are just getting into a situation where the payroll is being cleansed.
This move is therefore a feat on the part of government, as ghost workers continue to earn from the state coffers monthly without a correspondent output.
The National Civil Status Registration Office has embarked on a campaign to build citizens' interest in registering births, deaths, and marriages. The high point of the campaign was on August 10, observed as the third African Civil Registration and Vital Statistics Day under the theme Civil Registration on Vital Statistics, an essential service for monitoring and mitigating the impact of emergence. The day was marked by a stopover of teams from Bunek in grassroots communities in the Likir division in the Central region and in the streets of Douala in the littoral as well. Lawrence Kishe reports on the ongoing campaigns in Douala.
The campaign in Douala went to the markets and other popular areas, with the officials taking along gadgets such as posters with basic information on civil status registration. The campaign to bring the population on board comes from the fact that the majority of Cameroonians, notably in the rural areas, still do not attach any importance to those certificates. In the city, few business persons and regular workers in government and private offices bother at all to get those certificates. However, the officials have sworn not to go out of business, encouraging councils in Douala to continue registering births, marriages, and deaths. The National Office for Civil Status Registration, BUNEC, is still to set up branches all over the region. The program to set up digital registration of birth, marriage, and death certificates is still dragging on, as funding is expected from partners such as the European Union.
CRTV's Institute for the Conservation of Audiovisual Heritage, abbreviated in French as Fcfa, has graduated a new batch of trainees. The graduation ceremony of the batch of 180 students, Christian Qualité, was presided at by the Director General of the Cameroon Radio Television, Charles Ndongo, at the Ekonu campus of the institution. Yoti Kalelisonge reports.
A beam of satisfaction as they received their diplomas after an imposed COVID-19 delay. First, the 13 outstanding laureates.
It has been hard work. I'm not waiting for the government to employ me. I have a channel online.
Initially 220 students, but today over 180 have crossed the finish line, with Menge Alphonse as the overall best.
I think I have everything to be a good backpack journalist tomorrow.
This 2017-2019 batch is then told the attitude to uphold in the professional world.
You are excited to work, but only the most disciplined will meet up, because the working milieu is not as easy as you think.
A peculiar group of laureates christened Qualité.
Quality for the effective presence of the top management for the recipients. Quality for the future.
The Minister of Higher Education has accepted to let us have a licence professionnelle cycle. We hope that it's going to be possible.
The graduating batch now have to live up to expectations.
The Ministry of Higher Education has been evaluating the implementation of prescribed COVID-19 measures in the 8 state universities of Cameroon. In a video conference chaired by the Minister of Higher Education, Professor Jacques Famandongo, the 8 rectors reported their efforts so far on the ground. The second phase of the special recruitment of over 5,000 PhD holders as university lecturers was also discussed during the virtual meeting, which was also attended by the Director General of CAMTEL, and was proposing to help facilitate distance learning in these universities by lowering the cost of internet connection for students. One of Cameroon's leading food enterprises, OK Food, or rather we go over to the Public Health Emergency Center to say regular vaccination during this COVID-19 crisis is advised, especially for women and children. Health experts say it will step up the disease, rather it will step up the disease fighting mechanisms underway in the country. Unfortunately, many have shied away from vaccines amidst fears surrounding a possible COVID-19 vaccine test. Baldwin Sama joins us from the Public Health Emergencies Operations Center to talk about these fears together with his guest, Dr. Eric Tande, a public health expert. Hello, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, Ben Menopufong. Public health experts this evening have confirmed that the ongoing COVID-19 spread in the country has affected the vaccination routine in the 10 different regions of the country. This is so because they have also noticed that over 80,000 children failed to respect their vaccination routine between the month of March and the month of August this year, this period within which we've had the spread of COVID-19, something which is not good for their health. And that's why they're encouraging parents, especially women and their children, to have themselves vaccinated. They must respect the vaccination routine. And that is what we shall be discussing tonight with our guest, Dr. Eric Tande, a public health expert. Good evening, Doctor.
Yeah, good evening, buddy.
Explain to our viewers the peculiarities of vaccination during this period that we have the spread of COVID-19 in the country.
Yeah, buddy, it's important for us to recall that beside COVID-19, we still have other issues, other health-related issues that are more specific and more dangerous, even more than COVID-19. And again, when we come to vaccination, which is one of the principal and very important things to do in order to protect our children, we need to keep the routine follow-up as far as this is concerned. We know a lot of fake news has been going on that have prevented a lot of parents to accompany their kids for regular vaccination. You rightly said figures. 80,000 is really enormous for us to let the kids be without this vaccination. That might create other consequences. Remember, the kids are those who will take the lead in the nearest future, and we don't know. Situations are changing with changing time. So I'm encouraging, or we are encouraging, that all parents should put in more effort as far as vaccination is concerned to respect the calendar for vaccination, so that we shouldn't have any child left out. That might be very dangerous to the community community. And remember, the fake news that is coming up, and authorities are working very hard to curb this up, and no authority will permit a bad or a poor vaccine to be given to a kid, because even the authorities equally have kids that are taking this vaccine. So we're encouraging all parents to rally behind the vaccination calendar and leave no kid out. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Eric Tenzi. If you want to avoid any complications as far as the health of your child is concerned, respect the vaccination routine. That is a take-home message from public health experts this evening. Back to you, Ben Menopofo.
Thank you very much, Baldwin Sama, and your guests for clearing the air over the vaccination scare. We carry on with the news to say one of Cameroon's leading food processing enterprises, OK Food Cameroon, has donated some anti-COVID-19 materials and food items to the Lakentinine Hospital in Douala to assist patients and workers of the health establishment end the spread of the coronavirus pandemic in the country. As Laris Nane Epote reports from CRTV Littoral, it was a gesture that the hospital officials described as crucial and extremely significant.
COVID-19 is a persistent threat, especially in hospital facilities, with staff at the forefront of the crisis. OK Foods Cameroon is taking its corporate social responsibility to provide support to all patients and staff of the Lakentinine Hospital in Douala, one of those retained to take COVID-19 patients in charge. On August 4, 2020, 1,000 rapid screening tests for COVID-19 and other sanitary equipment were delivered to this health facility, seen as a spirit of solidarity on the part of the enterprise. OK Foods Cameroon, known for its safe and quality foodstuff produced and made available to the Cameroonian market, through this humanitarian action equally provided the hospital with over 60 cartons of top milk, one of the newest products in the market, rich in calcium and other vitamins. A gesture warmly appreciated by the hospital management. OK Foods Cameroon Company calls on all Cameroonians to respect the barrier measures put in place by government and beckon on them to cultivate good hygienic behaviors, as they did when Cameroon just recorded its first cases of the virus, because the coronavirus is still to be eradicated in Cameroon.
Keeping COVID-19 out of Cameroon's #1 tourism destination, Crise, is a priority to the Crise City Council officials, who are assisted in this endeavor by their partners, national and international. A non-governmental organization recently donated prevention kits to sustain these efforts, as we hear in this report with El Sinje from Crise.
As the fight against COVID-19 pandemic continues in Cameroon, so too are non-governmental organizations leaving no stone unturned to see the virus out of the scene. This is the case with a non-governmental organization that has donated hospital beds and hand sanitizers to the Crise City Council as their own contribution for the fight.
Okay, first of all, safety is our priority, and we want to make sure that everyone across the world can have access to free health care.
Officials of the Crise City Council promised to make good use of the gift.
We are very grateful to receive this today. Those beds will help us in our district hospital center.
The brief donation ceremony was an opportunity to remind the population of the city of the reality of the pandemic.
Yaoundé, the capital city, is known for its high peaks, which earned it the pseudonym of the City of Seven Hills. Southwest of the city is the towering Mount Elundem, which is a prized destination for adventurous souls and spiritual seekers. Christian pilgrims do the spiritual hikes around this amazing landscape, following an age-old fascinating culture. Maimuna Njoya of our Central Regional Station guides us around this high place to find out a sense of awe as we continue our series on Cameroon's tourist destinations.
The nation's political capital, which is known in French as La Ville aux Sept Collines, literally translated as the town with 7 hills, finds meaning in this mountain called Mount Elundem. Elum stands for a stem and then means plants. It is 1,159 meters high southwest of Yaoundé. This mountain, which is worth contemplating, is sacred according to the custodians of tradition here and even holds a great mystery. It will take you at least 12 hours to get to the peak. But the most important thing about Mount Elumden is the fact that it remains an adequate site for spiritual retreats and meditation. It gives visitors a kind of an intimate communication with nature, but for some Christians who have been here, it is even an appropriate area to feel the presence of the Virgin Mary. Mount Elumden is for spiritual and social reasons an enticing touristic destination, but most especially for people who are pure and shy away from any devilish practice.
The governor of the Northwest region has sounded a strong warning to those who continue to carry out acts of murder and perpetrate violent crimes in the region, saying they shall be dealt with accordingly. Adolphe Lele-Afrique was speaking today at the Bamenda Regional Hospital during the coffining of a government technical high school teacher, Pipayo Ibrahim, whose lifeless body was found in a river in the Malfonkwen neighborhood and over the weekend and was suspected to have been assassinated. Eric Langmia-Wufo now joins us with details from Sia TV Northwest.
He was killed on his way back from PCHS Mankand, where he was taking part in the invigilation of the 2020 session of the GC examinations. His body was found by the riverside in the Maifor neighborhood with bullet wounds on his skull.
Those who are trying to disrupt public order in our region are going to face the might of the state, the might of our security forces.
The chemistry teacher of Government Technical High School Santa, who was also offering part-time services at PCHS Mankon, is married and a father of 5. His death comes on the heels of the kidnap and demand for ransom of over 70 teachers this academic year in the Northwest region.
And we conclude with this press release from Cameroon's Ministry of Defense, and the release reads, a fake communique dated Tuesday, the 11th of August 2020, and attributed to the minister delegate at the presidency in charge of defense, has invaded the blogosphere, announcing the launch of an alleged special recruitment of 2,600 elite commandos within the ranks of the Rapid Intervention Battalion B and the Presidential Guard. In addition, photocopies of this pseudo-communique are circulating widely in the city of Yaoundé and other towns in the country. The minister delegate at the presidency in charge of defense hereby specifies that no competitive examination or recruitment has yet been opened for the armed forces and the National Gendarmerie. The right information on this topic will be communicated to the public through the usual channels in due course. Anyone, the fraudsters, authors of this pseudo-communique, will attempt to defraud should carefully avoid being scammed. The nearest administrative authorities and defense and security forces officials must be notified to stop them. And that release has been signed by Atonfa Gemo Cyril Sesh, who is the head of the communication unit of the communication division of the Ministry of Defense. And that's where we end this edition of the 7:30 News. Thanks for your attention. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
In this connection, we should avoid stigmatizing